It's a book about finding who you are as a person. I think the true treasure is within your heart, is finding out who you are as a human being and how you can illustrate to others a little bit of kindness, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of love.
It's always great to learn about business professionals and their passion for what they do. What is it that inspires these individuals when planning or launching a new project? How do they manage their time and resources? My name is Taylor Cole Longacre, and I'd like to know, what do they bring into Focus? On this segment of The Focus, I'm talking with the co-creators of Blue Pearl. Welcome, David Daniels and Carson Ahearn.
Hi.
Welcome to The Focus.
Thank you for having us. We're thrilled to be here.
Well, today we're going to talk about another book. David, you've written a number of books.
I have, yeah.
Happy Accidents, White Tantric Yoga, and you've also written Blue Pearl.
Blue Pearl, that's right.
What was the inspiration for this book?
You know what happened? I was very close to my dad. Here's an interesting story. I remember when I was 16 years old, I told my father, Dad, I think I'm going to become a comedian. And he told me, a comedian? He goes, you don't even know anyone in show business. And I said, well, I didn't know that that was actually a requirement. And he said to me, he goes, will you do me a favor? He goes, if you're going to go into comedy, will you at least have a fallback job? And I was like, well, what do you have in mind? He goes, why don't you become a writer? Because in my dad's mind, writing seemed like a reasonable dream, but comedy wasn't. So it always kind of stuck in my mind as a young kid. So my father passed away in 2014, and I started thinking about what his death meant to me. And I decided to write this novel in February of 2015, 2 months after he died. So I started writing it, and the story just kind of unraveled before my eyes. I didn't really have a plan of what I was going to do. I just started writing, and it was a story about a young boy who leaves Cuba to go to Costa Rica. And it kind of goes through the course of his life and how he becomes a spiritual teacher of teachers. And in the book, I end up dedicating this to my father. The dedication said, to my father who asked me to write and write well. So this is kind of an homage to my father and the relationships I had with various men in my life who became mentors to me.
Very interesting. Yeah. And you're also part of 4 Day Weekend.
That's right, improvisational comedy show. And we have theaters in Dallas and Fort Worth. And we've been doing those shows for 22 years, completely improvised comedy show. We come out in front of the audiences, unscripted, and co-create with them.
Now, I understand your aspiration has been to be on The Tonight Show.
It was, in my 20s, it was. Yeah. I wanted to be the host of The Tonight Show. And so all the way through my 20s, I really wanted to do that. And it didn't work out. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm so glad it didn't. In fact, I was just telling him today when we were coming here, I said, I always used to want to be the host of The Tonight Show, but I'm glad I didn't, because if I didn't, I know I wouldn't have had these kids. I wouldn't have had the show that I have now. So I host a show somewhat like The Tonight Show. It just doesn't quite look like The Tonight Show. It's amazing how that works out. Yeah,
but you still have a Carson.
I do have a, I do have a Carson, that's right.
Well, speaking of Carson, you had a special part in this book, Blue Pearl.
Yes, I did. I illustrated the front cover and the back cover, and he told me the name was Blue Pearl. And I don't know why, but I just think whenever you think of a pearl, it's kind of something that's like rare and unique. So I thought and it's something kind of enclosed in this dark ocean of some sort, so it's something that you're looking for. So I thought that would match the cover of the book, and it just kind of worked perfectly.
And it looks like it's drifting into water, but you actually illustrated this all yourself?
Yes, I did some looking at pictures, and then I pieced together the cover. It took me a little bit, but I got it down eventually.
And I only gave him about the same cursory overview of the book as I just gave to you, and that's what he came up with. I thought, that's amazing. Yeah, and the great thing is now I have a cheap book illustrator. I only have to feed him. This is awesome.
Yeah.
What I find interesting too is you mentioned your aspiration for the book, David, was from your dad, and you dedicated it to your dad. And now what a beautiful legacy to pass along to your son, Carson.
You know, and that's the thing, is that I felt like my dad lifted me up on his shoulders and allowed me to succeed a little bit more than he did. And that's what I really want for him, is I want to do everything I can to give him the opportunity to become anything he wants in life. And I always tell both my kids, all three of my kids actually, not just two, it's all three. They can achieve anything that they put their mind to. And I always say, follow your passion. Whatever it is you love to do, just do that. And money and opportunity will find a way to come to you. I said, you live one life, so make sure the thing that you're doing when you go to work every day is something that you love to do and you tap dance to work every day. And the universe will conspire to make your dreams come true. That's from The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. It's like, it really will. Whatever you dream and whatever your mission is in life, it will come true if you just work towards it.
Absolutely. Well, what would you say would be a focal point from Blue Pearl that our viewers could take away with them?
That the true treasure is within your heart, is finding out who you are as a human being and how you can illustrate to others a little bit of kindness, a little bit of compassion, a little bit of love.
David, a common theme in Blue Pearl is mentorship and role models.
Yeah.
Tell me about the relationship you had with your father, and Carson specifically, I'd love to hear about your relationship with your grandfather.
You know, it was interesting because my dad really achieved all his greatest success before he was 22. And he even talked about that. He's like, he was a pro baseball player, he did all these things, and he said, you know, after sports, he just became a guy who he went to work every day, had a family, came home every night. You couldn't get him to ever talk about his life. It was really fascinating. I would find his scrapbooks in the basement and see these amazing feats that he did in sports, and I would go, you never talked about this. And he goes, that's over with. What's there really to talk about? It was an experience that I had, and now it's done. And so we had a really great relationship. But it was an unspoken one. Like there wasn't a lot of I love yous. If I told my dad I love you, he'd go, all right, well, here's your mother. He'd hand the phone to her. That just isn't the way he expressed himself. But yet we were very, very close. And I always felt like he was a great sounding board if I ever needed advice. Yeah. That was my experience with my dad.
Yeah. What about you, Carson, and your grandfather?
Obviously not loving in the way most parents are, but he was a good role model. He had a lot of things that he accomplished, and I looked up to that.
So tell me about your relationship with your dad.
Okay. We've always been really close. He's always someone that I can talk to if I, need advice or stuff like that, or, if I have a presentation at school and I need advice on how to not be too nervous or something of the sort, stuff like that. So he's always been there for me, and he's always been, really supportive of anything I want to do.
And now you have a special connection through this book.
Yes, I do.
But the creation of this book didn't come without challenges.
No, it did not. There were a few obstacles in the way whenever we were working on it.
Yeah. We went through a lot of design things on the book.
Yes.
And a lot of them were my shortcomings, because I would give him dimensions he had to do, and he would do the exact dimensions of the book cover I would tell him. And then when we would look at it, we would go, that doesn't work, but we have to keep going. And the one lesson that I tried to impart on him is that success is not always easy. You do have setbacks from time to time, but how those setbacks define you determines whether or not you're successful. So I'm like, yeah, it didn't work. So what are we going to do to fix it? And we just kept working and working and working. And he told me once, he goes, yeah, about 50 drafts ago, I thought I was done, but we're just keep going. I go, that's right, we just kept going.
Although there was many attempts, and I definitely did learn that, I need to not get so excited on finishing it whenever there's still probably going to be things that I have to work on.
And that's all part of the refinement of creating art, is that you keep working at it until you'll know when it's right. Like you'll go, okay, now it's right, and now we can go, so.
Yeah, well, I say now it's right.
Now it's right.
Everyone should read this book. We can get it on Amazon.com, right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Well, thank you, David Daniel.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carson Ahearn.
Thank you.
It's been wonderful talking with you.
It's been an honor to be here. Thank you so much.